Hi guys, welcome. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. It's time to play with a few more club kits from Spellbinders' October release, and I'm going to be creating a few more Christmas cards using these kits. So I'm starting out with the clear stamp and die of the month. You can get this club with just the stamp if you prefer. This one includes pretty flower sprigs and clusters that you can tuck into the corners of your cards. And then the dies cut out everything as well as a few of the sentiments. I really love the look of these poinsettia stamps as well. I pulled out my mini Misty so that I can stamp up all of the images in this set at once. I'm using some Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock and some Copic-friendly ink. I'm going to be die cutting these, so I'm just trying to fit them all on this 5.5 by 4.25 piece of paper. And then I'll stamp out my sentiment later. The ink I'm using today is from MFT, and it's called Extreme Black ink. This ink won't bleed when I start coloring in the images with my Copic markers. I do need to stamp them out several times just to get a nice dark image, but I'm only going to show one stamping. While all of the stamps were arranged on the door of the Misty, I went ahead and stamped another set for later use, just to make it easier when I want to make another card. But here they are, all stamped out. I have a bunch of Copic markers that I'm going to use to color in these images. I'm just using some soft pinks and purples. You can see the colors that I'm using by the caps that you see up at the top left. But I like to start out with my lightest color first, and then I'll deepen and richen the color with darker colors. But for the most part, it's very simple coloring. The berries I'm going to make purple, and then I'll use a little bit of a darker purple to add some shading. For the centers of these flowers, I'm just using 2 different shades of yellow. Next, I'll color in the poinsettia. I'll start with my lightest red. This is my favorite red combo here, the R22 for the lightest. And then I move on to the R24. And then I'll deepen it with R27. For the greenery around my poinsettia, I'm going to use some teal colors. I'll finish up coloring the red leaves here. But I'm going to pull out a BG72 for the lightest and a BG75 for the shadows. I think that looks so pretty on this poinsettia. And then again, I'll use the yellow for the center. These berries or flower buds, I'm not sure what these are, but I'm using some blues, but they do look really purple. I use these a lot. It's the B60, B63, and B66. However, I didn't use the B66 because I didn't want them to be too dark. I'll cut these out with the coordinating dies, and now they're ready to put on a card. I wanted to use some saltwater taffy pink behind my flowers. I'm just blending it on with one of the Spellbinders blending brushes. And I want it to dark enough that you can see the white outlines to the flowers, but not too dark. I just want it really subtle and soft. I'll stamp out the sentiment using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This ink always stamps out so dark and perfect on the first stamping. I don't usually use my mini Misty when I stamp out my sentiments using this ink. And then I can cut this out using the coordinating die. This just says Merry Christmas. So the flower cluster I am going to pop up with some foam squares, but let's back this with a little bit of red cardstock. And then I used a lot of little foam squares to pop this up. It looks so pretty just in the bottom corner. And then the sentiment I'll glue down flat with some liquid glue. So this is a very simple card, but it's so pretty. I'll glue this onto a top folding white card base. And then I'm going to add a few embellishments. The embellishments I used were silver gems, and here is a close-up look at the finished card. I love incorporating a little bit of pink into my Christmas cards. For card number 2, we're going to use the small die of the month. This one is great because it has a bunch of Christmas sentiments as well as the shadows behind them. You can mix and match these, but the words say cheer enclosed, Merry Christmas, holiday greetings, warm wishes, joyous, and hugs. And it also comes with some pretty floral pieces. The embossing folder this month is called Scattered Christmas, and I'm going to be using that with some forest green cardstock. This is a 5.5 by 4.25 inch panel. And I'll take this off camera and run it through my embossing machine. And here it is all ready to go. It just adds some fun interest to the card. I'll use the leftover pieces from card number 1 that I didn't use on card number 2. So I'm going to glue this directly onto the card base. I cut this panel down a little bit so there will be a white border around this. And this will be a fast card to put together. Once this panel is in place, I can add my florals as well as my sentiment. The sentiment is going to say holiday hugs. I cut them out with some more red cardstock, and I'm gluing them onto their white shadows. This will really help them to pop off of this dark green cardstock. The font on these sentiments are so pretty. Before I attach these, I do want to put the florals down, and I used a lot of foam squares behind these. I'll put this first one in place, and then I'm just going to snip off the stem so that I can fit my poinsettia over it. But first, I'll put this other sprig down. And I'll snip off the stem on this one too. I want these pieces to kind of curl around the sentiment. With those in place, I can put the poinsettia down. And the sentiment I'm just going to glue down flat. Let's put this last flower down. It would be pretty easy to put some foam strips behind the sentiments if you wanted to pop those up on the fronts of your cards. But for this card, I'm just going to use some liquid glue. This Christmas sentiments set is a really nice stash builder. And I liked the sentiment that says holiday hugs. To embellish this, I'm going to use some really bright pearls. These are called Fashion Poppy. I'll use 3 of these on the front of the card. The pack includes several different sizes, but I'm just going to use 2 different sizes for this card. And here is a close-up look at the finished card. I'm trying to catch the light so you can see all of that beautiful embossing. For card number 3, I'm going to dip into the large die of the month club and use their Christmas tree bulb die. This is a nice large size, and it fills up the front of your A2 sized cards just perfectly. I'll emboss this. This looks really pretty on the red, but I do end up changing my mind on the color scheme of my card. Let me show you how pretty this embossed Christmas tree bulb is. But I am going to use some brushed gold instead. I'll use a piece of pattern paper from the card kit of the month from October. I loved the gold stripes on this. I'm attaching it to a piece of pale pink cardstock that came from the card kit of the month as well. I'll use brushed silver at the top of the Christmas bulb, and I'll pop this up with some foam pieces. This will just go down kind of at the bottom left corner. I'm also using some of the Floral Dies from this club kit. But first, let's put down the string, and I cut this out with more of the brushed silver. It's very easy to line up with the grid of the pattern paper. And then I can just snip off the overhang. The florals I cut out with more of the soft pink cardstock from the kit. And then I'm using the sentiment from the Clear Stampin' Die of the Month kit, the Merry Christmas sentiment. Just place that up at the top. And then I can start decorating my Christmas bulb. So the base layer is white, and then I'm putting down a soft pink. And then I'll put down another soft pink just to make this nice and full. I'll glue this down flat onto the bottom of the Christmas bulb. And then I can start tucking some leaves and pine boughs behind this. And I cut these out with some fern cardstock as well as some rainforest cardstock. The large die of the month kit for October was really unique. You could make, of course, Christmas cards with these dies like I'm doing here, or you could make a standing Christmas decoration using this large Christmas bulb. At the end of this video, I'll link to the video where I created one of those beautiful standing decorations. I'll put my last leaf down, and then for embellishments, I'm going to use more of the flat pearls. This one is called Taupe. And I'll just add a few around the flower as well as one right in the center of the flower. And here it is, all done. I love how the gold just catches the light on this card, and here's a close-up of the flower. There's cute faux stitching down the centers of the petals. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope that you were inspired and it gave you some fun ideas of what you can do with your club kits for October. As always, I'll have the links to the products that I used to create these cards listed in the description box. Have a wonderful crafty day. Bye.